This is David with The Verge, and this is the Toshiba Excite 10 LE. It's a 10.1-inch tablet starting at $529, and its claim to fame is being the thinnest 10-inch tablet on the market. That does seem to be true, but it's a really small distinction. At 7.7 millimeters thick, it's less than a millimeter thinner than the Galaxy Tab 10.1, and only slightly over a millimeter thinner than the iPad 2. It is thin, and it's nice and light at a little less than 1.2 pounds, but again, it's a pretty small distinction over some of the other tablets out there. Toshiba also makes some pretty big sacrifices to get the tablet to be so thin. The magnesium alloy body and Gorilla Glass display are both good, but they're not put together all that well. There's a weird lip on the back that actually sticks out, and you can feel it and almost pry it apart. Plus, the tablet creaks and bends a lot as you move it around. There's a headphone jack, a micro USB port, a micro HDMI port, and a micro SD port. They're all really accessible, and it's nice to have them all there, especially the micro SD port, which is usually hidden and pretty hard to access. On the bottom, there's a proprietary dock connector, which is enormous, even bigger than Apple's, and just seems unnecessarily large. There are two cameras on the device. There's a 5-megapixel camera on the back and a 2-megapixel camera on the front. Both are basically just like every other tablet camera we've seen. Neither is particularly impressive, but both work in a pinch, especially the rear camera. The front camera is fine for video chat and actually takes better pictures than some we've seen, but is still not something you're going to want to use a lot. We've been hearing about this tablet for months now, and when you look at the spec sheet or use the device, it really shows. It uses a TI OMAP 4430 processor, which is fine, but it's definitely an aging chip. Basically, everything you do just takes a beat longer than you expect. There's some real responsiveness issues with the screen, and it'll often take 2 or 3 taps to get something to happen, and games play at really low frame rates, and we tried to play Grand Theft Auto 3 and either couldn't play it at all because it would crash or just had some trouble with frame rates and lag as we tried to move around. It has a 1280 by 800 IPS display and in general looks pretty good. It's not nearly up to par with the Retina display on the new iPad, but it's still pretty solid. It has good viewing angles and good colors. It's not really bright, and again, it has some real responsiveness issues, but it's hard to tell how much of that is due to the screen and how much is due to the processor. It also oddly lets you see the touchscreen technology on it. It looks almost like an alligator skin, and it's really kind of bizarrely visible as you look at it. Otherwise, what you're getting is pretty much a pure stock experience of Android 3.2 Honeycomb. Toshiba promises that Android 4.0 is coming this spring, but again, we're always wary of it until an upgrade actually comes. With the Excite 10 LE, it feels like Toshiba's goal was to have the thinnest tablet possible at absolutely any cost. So it's too expensive at $529 for 16 gigs of storage or $599 for 32 gigs. It doesn't perform very well, and it doesn't even seem like a well-built tablet despite having pretty good materials. You're paying a price premium over the iPad, certainly, and even over most competing Android tablets like the Galaxy Tab 10.1 or the Asus Transformer Prime, and it really doesn't seem like it's worth it just to get a thinner tablet.